It's really a free market mechanism because it's a win-win. If you produce a good drug that helps patients, then manufacturers would want that drug to get used by lots of patients, and payers would want patients to benefit. The big problem occurs that a lot of the time the drugs are getting used by patients when it may not be the right group of people, and the drug doesn't work, and then people are not happy. So there's a tremendous incentive to target the patient population that'll really respond to these special expensive drugs, and then it's a win-win for everybody. So I think it's a great trend that we're now using science to target narrower and narrower populations where you get the best return on investment to use the drug. Because in the old days, more than half the population was not benefiting from the drug that was being taken.
What's the argument against it, Meg?
Well, the argument against it in some ways is it does nothing to keep the original prices from being set very high. So it's a way of sort of getting payment for your drugs, but also saying, okay, well, we're going to set the payment high. If it works, you're going to pay us this much money. And some people argue that can still be too high. It also does nothing to perhaps stop prices from climbing and climbing over time, which is another issue. And Fred points out some of the issues with the system of just implementing this, tracking patients for a long period of time, and setting the right metrics for what determines success.
Yeah, so there are some practical problems. I think it's been something that's been going on for a while. We had only 10% of the doctors on EMRs, electronic medical records, 10 years ago. Now 80% of the doctors are on EMRs. 80% of the hospitals are on EMRs. This is the time when you can measure value much better than ever before. And so that part's easier, but here are the two challenges. Number one, quality. How do you measure quality? Is it through the lens of the doctor, or the lens of the hospital, or the lens of the patient? More recently, it's now become the lens of the patient. And that's something we all have to start to understand. For example, a chemotherapy might work great, might keep you from dying. But if the patient is miserable, that aspect has to be kept in mind as you look at value for drugs. The second big problem is our fragmented system in the US. You got a lot of different silos, and they don't talk to each other. It's going to take another 5 years for all these to talk, the pharmacies to talk to the claims databases, to the doctors' databases, to the hospital databases. When all that happens, you can then track the patient right from the beginning to the discharge to the real-life use, and then you can really measure value in a much more meaningful way, because a lot of the diseases take 5 to 10 years to be measured in terms of the outcomes. And that's all going to be happening in the next 5 years.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.